they oft form a hard stay against the works of waking spirits. "Look here," he cast forth, directing our gaze to his right. In the distance, we beheld a golden sheen that held a strange pull upon the soul, due to its fair seeming. As we stilled our sight, the shimmer grew distinct. We saw a thin layer that resembled a net, woven from spirit matter, similar to fine spun silk and colored a deceptive gold. Upon closer view, we realized that this web stretched over a vast area of the parish where we stood. Below, several individuals, still alive, were passing through that point, returning from their nightly wanderings, entirely unaware of the unfleshed reality surrounding them, which is naturally hidden from their mortal sight. As they crossed that point, some were targeted by a teeming swarm of those strange mind leeches, which were drawn to them as iron is to a lodestone by a hidden kinship. The strike did not befall, solely due to the immediate action of the guardians. These sentinels perceived the danger and ensured that the spider net, as I named those vile threads, did not reach the people. One of the guardians approached, carrying a small hallow that appeared to draw its power directly from the great void. As the instrument was positioned near the living beings, we witnessed a violent sparking in the surrounding air, a leaping arc of levin fire, as if the very breath of the heavens were being forced into the object. A shimmering ward instantly rose around the people, protecting them from the spider net's reach. Brennan then explained, "These mind shadows wander this region for long stretches of time. The golden shimmer you beheld shows that they work by choice within the shadow reach of the living, drawn by a matching thrum to the vapors sent out by the mind. These creations, which you, Bellatrix, aptly named the spider web, survive upon the soul tinctures of both the living and the unfleshed." Brennan continued, detailing the toll. "When they fasten themselves unto a person's mind reach, they immediately begin a corrupting work, drinking deep from the host's inner vapors. As they prey upon the thoughts shed by the living, they cast off a foul miasma, or dross, effectively poisoning the very current of their thoughts." A thoughtful silence followed, before I broke it with a reckoning. Could this poison of the mind be compared to the venoms we encounter in the earthly realm? Does the spiritual taint the material? We use the term poison for lack of a richer tongue. However, we may draw a comparison, Brennan replied. Every time these mind shadows feast upon the living or the unfleshed, they gather a pestilential slag within their essence. This feculent residue is bound to each new host, forming a ring of ever-turning corruption. He continued, "The result is that the host's stray thoughts grow more persistent, forming a closed loop of clashing thrums. Within this confined cycle, they draw an increasing swarm of vile creations, worsening their own plight and unsettling the peace of those nearby. This ruinous effect is seen in the violence, brawls, and drunkenness that plague the town by night, when the cleansing rays of the sun are absent and cannot purge these wayward mind shadows." Dana formed her next question. So are they not merely the result of the unbalanced thoughts of the living? Are mind shadows also instruments of wicked entities? Brennan affirmed, "That is so, Dana is. More cunning entities employ them for that which we name the sapping of the thrum. They cultivate many of these parasitic forms in their strongholds and extract the gathered mind slag from them to nourish themselves, like vampires. When the mind shadows no longer have worth stolen from their victims, these spirits cast them out in places where the living gather, so that the unhealthy toil begins again." I was deep in thought about the heavy role of the guardians. My mind was wrestling with the reach of their order. How could one force possibly govern all these different tasks across the mortal and spirit worlds? At that moment, Brennan intervened, his thought cutting into mine. The roles of the guardians seem many and varied, you are thinking, and the order is vast, Brennan responded. That's right, my dears. Mastery is necessary so that we can work more rightly. These specific guardians, for example, have been in watch over this spider web for a great age. Master Diego asked, and how is the High Order governed? Do they have to be trained in a soul art based on the spirit's previous lives in the flesh? Brennan explained. Their order is deeply woven. Experienced spirits guide the tasks, granting mastery according to gifts, and even utilize the crafts performed by spirits when still living. Some guardians are simply watchmen, observing events to report to others who are well suited for the task. The higher spheres, and yet another host is dedicated to carrying out high works against the umbral reach. I was awestruck and formed my thoughts. Can we liken these adept spirits to the so-called guardian angels? Brennan affirmed. That is so. Everything and everyone has its weight. Without the work of these trained spirits, the task of the guardian angels and guides would simply not be possible. Master Diego interjected, his spirit double stiffening. But why the secrecy regarding those in the flesh? Surely the living do not gain from this constant hazard. Brennan shook his head. The living depend directly on the work of these chosen hosts. Without them, the living would quickly succumb to their own unruly mind-weavings. The constant gathering of heavy thrums would form a thick, suffocating crust around the mortal body, one that would be nearly impossible to break through. Danaiz formed her concern. A crust affecting breathing and the blood? Is the taint truly of the flesh, or is the stroke purely spiritual? Brennan replied gently. The toll is dual, Danaiz. Firstly, the crust hinders communion with the higher spheres. Secondly, on a more bodily level, the foul gathering of power would lay a heavy hand on the breathing and the flow of blood in the bodies of the living. I hadn't thought these mind shadows would be so grievous, Danaiz whispered, horrified. Brennan added, Yes, my dear, beyond the verge of the world of the flesh, reality is also solid, real, and often immensely serious. The orders that exist on this side uphold the even poise of the world's frame. Master Diego formed a skeptical query. Orders, formed over ages, and yet no account of them exists in any scholarly scroll of the living world. Brennan explained, While there are wicked beings that endanger the living, the spiritual world has, over the ages, ordered itself in opposition. For every peril that could unsettle the concord, purposeful hosts have been formed. Their existence and work are often known only to the few, and silence regarding their deeds is commonly maintained. We fell silent, letting the gravity of Brennan's teaching settle in our minds before continuing our walk. We continued our wayfaring along paths that grew ever more murky and indistinct, entering a place that appeared enveloped in a reek so thick it choked the very air. A horde of unfleshed beings prowled that domain. Their wills proved utterly unfathomable to me. Trees, stone effigies, and flowers emerged through the mist. It was a churchyard. A group of spirits, seeing us approach the ground of the dead, began railing at us, their voices like the hissing rustle of dry leaves scraped across cold stone. Brennan spoke with command, clefting the din. Heed not these creatures. They are soul leeches, striving to shatter the wards of the guardians, that they might drain the lingering warmth from the fading husks of the dead. Beside Danaiz, I beheld an unearthly radiance streaming from the graver stones. Beyond the burial markers, a blinding heart of light revealed a shining wall of might that set the very stone and soil to thrum like a struck bell. Within that mighty beam, I saw an ordered host biding our coming. Who are these souls? I sent the question through the stillness to Brennan. You shall know in due season, once we have gained the sanctified circle. Danaiz, Master Diego, and I knew the situation bound us to obey. We pressed toward the heart of the light, where our guide was heading. Suddenly, someone within the ring of the host unfurled a banner bearing a fearful device, a death's head set amidst forbidden runes. Vile souls, hungry and thirsty spirits, cast away all hope of passage within, a commanding voice thundered. I shall bar you from plundering that which is not yours. Gird yourselves for the arrival of the watchman. The figure turned his wrath upon us. And you, living souls, be gone from this place. Only those bearing rightful warrant may approach. Are you haply the sorcerers who seek vital dew from the corpses for your lowly guile? You shall find nothing here. Brennan touched my shoulder, granting silent succor, then responded in a voice of heavy command. Nay, they are not sorcerers. They travel under my safe conduct. We are workers sent forth by the higher spheres. Brennan began a sign of high right, sweeping his finger in a measured arc. A luminous character appeared, etched into the threads of the firmament and the etheric tides. He gave a stark, measured clap, like a seal sundering in the air. The tokens flashed skyward. It is Brennan. The living are with Brennan. Give way forthwith.